Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Master of None here. Today we kick off a brand new series where we put the new elite specs that came in with End of Dragons against each other and crown the EOD PvP Meta King. We are going to start off with the Vindicator, and the way this works is pretty simple. First, I go to metabattle.com and look for the highest rated Vindicator Conquest build. Then, I search for another End of Dragon spec that is ideally similarly rated and where I feel like I can get a hang of it in about the same amount of time. For the first battle, I picked Harbinger. Although I've never played Harbinger in PvP, none of the EOD specs actually if we don't count the beta, I have played my fair share of necro builds in the past and they usually aren't too hard to pick up. Make sure to get subscribed so you don't miss that video. After the combatants have been chosen, I will play one unranked match with each build as a warm-up and then take it into 2 ranked matches. Whichever spec gets more wins in ranked goes to the next round. If there is a tie, the warm-up round counts retroactively, and if there is still no clear winner, my personal 5-star rating of the spec will come into play. More on this later. Originally, I had put a giant disclaimer right here, but it just bogged the video down. So instead, I dumped that whole thing into the video description so we can get started immediately. To start off, we have to do some prep. Set up the build and try to figure out what we are dealing with. Since I haven't used this character for a couple of years, we first had to fix the transmog though. I went for a classic black and gold and was now ready to jump into the fight. I usually start with looking at the amulet to see what type of build it is. It being a berserker amulet tells me that we are probably going to be quite squishy and we are fulfilling the role of a DPS, maybe a roamer. Ever since the template update, it has gotten incredibly easy to copy a build from the internet. Next up, I read through all the skills and traits and I'm looking for any special synergies or combos that I should be aware of. Luckily, I'm already quite familiar with base Revenant since I play it in PvE quite a lot, which definitely shortens this process. Often enough, Meta Battle will also have a whole bottom section with gameplay tips or combos to be aware of, but this is not the case for the Vindicator build. I assume it's because End of Dragons is still so new. Reading through the traits, the things that stand out to me are as follows. We can weaken enemies by CCing, which also makes us do more damage because of the traits. We can cleanse 1 condition by legend swapping, or 5 conditions by using the dwarf heal skill. On top of that, we apparently have the Great Dwarf elite skill traded, which also halves incoming strike and condition damage, and will activate automatically once our HP gets low. There's more to it obviously, but on first glance these seem to be the most essential ones. And if I'm honest, I probably won't be able to remember any more while fighting these first games anyway. Super excited, I jumped into the first game, and man, it was rough. I forgot how crazy unranked can be. Teams were very unbalanced and they were basically spawn camping us. It's also the reason why I want to take the specs into ranked, because I feel like the chance of getting a little bit more balanced matches is a bit higher. Especially in the lower brackets, which I suspect we'll end up in by playing all these specs that I'm clueless about. Just a quick reminder to please click the like button. It's the best thing you can do to help the channel and make this video show up to other people as well. So I'm trying to get a feel for her skills, despite the fact that we are losing horribly, and it quickly seems as if this Vindicator build is not something I will be able to get used to very fast. Having only 1 dodge available is quite a drastic change, and makes random dodging, which I'm prone to do, much more punishing. What I did find really nice is the projectile blocking dome that appears after using a heal skill. It came in clutch quite a few times. I also noticed that with this Shiro Jales setup, I spend a lot of energy on upkeeps, which then leave me out of energy for other important skills. Due to this, I changed one Grandmaster trait after that game to give me more sustain while using upkeep skills. This way, I at least get some benefit out of overusing these skills. The 2 upcoming games won't be enough to get rid of a bad habit, so this is the best I'll be able to do for now. It's time to make it count and go into ranked. Well, that second game was another total slam dunk into our faces. We had a really long fight at mid while losing sides, and ultimately we also lost mid. The funny part was that I was tunnel visioning on my skills so hard and trying to stay alive that I didn't even notice how far behind we were until the enemy hit like 100 points. I have a suspicion that this might be a running theme throughout the series. After that, we were just unable to recover. Moving on to game 2, I start off the same way as last time. I check for anyone crossing and wanting to attack our home node, but since this doesn't seem to be the case, I jump into the mid fight. Start with a wonderful random dodge that does absolutely nothing, and then fat finger my friend list. Bonus tip, the reason I dodged there was because I was knocked down by that mesmer focus skill. I don't know what it is, but 90% of the players will dodge after they get back up from being knocked down or CC'd. It's just some weird urge that not very experienced players just can't resist. You can use this to your advantage and just wait for the dodge of the enemy player before you press your burst. I definitely noticed in the first game that the cleave of the Vindicator felt pretty good. However, all the greatsword attacks seemed incredibly easy to dodge and super slow. So for the second game, I tried to combo it a bit more often with some CC or quickness from Shiro. Here I get some juicy greatsword 5 into that mesmer, and finally use my taunt ability in dwarf stance to secure the kill. After getting that kill, I see my teammate downed versus 2 other people. I teleport in and try to cleave out the body, but it's not enough damage. Instead, you'll see me run up to our home node. My goal here is not to actually cap it, although I will try to decap it. Instead, I try to keep 2 of the enemies busy so we can win the rest of the map. Now, I wasn't sure yet how well Vindicator would survive on its own, and honestly, it's not too bad. Like, if you actually just focus on surviving and don't spend energy on unnecessary damaging skills, you are quite sustainable. Sadly, I have a teammate come in and making this a 2v2, but he just immediately dies on the node. That kind of negates my whole efforts here. After a while, I noticed that I'm pretty much out of juice, so the last thing I try to do is get on the node and die there to stall just a little bit longer. And also forcing them to actually finish me and not let me bleed out next to the node, wasting as little time as possible. Spawning back in, I first moved to mid to help a teammate out there, and after we won that fight, I do the same thing again and go to our home node to outnumber the fight there, to just get some quick kills. So even though I'm not comfortable on Vindicator at all, we did manage to win a ranked match. At the end of the first video for every spec, I want to rate them based on my first impressions playing those 3 games. First up is how new player friendly the spec feels to me. I give Vindicator only 1 out of 5 stars. Despite running a Berserker amulet, you still have a surprising amount of sustain and healing thanks to the dodge heal, the dwarven hammers that also heal and give damage reduction, and more potent vigor thanks to your traits. However, if you get caught off guard, it's really hard to recover. Especially Condis can eat you alive. The main thing that doesn't make it new player friendly in my opinion is the energy management. This will take some time getting used to, but allows for a lot of decision making. Should you save some energy because you expect to get focused soon, or should you use it on CC? Maybe a damaging skill is better at the moment? These are all questions you'll have to answer while playing the Vindicator, or Revenant in general for that matter. Another thing is only having 1 dodge. I already mentioned it earlier, but only having 1 dodge can be quite punishing at times, especially when you're prone to random dodging. Like me apparently. Next up, the skill ceiling. 4 out of 5. I think if I would play this build a whole season, there would be so much to learn and discover. It doesn't feel like a one-trick pony to me, and you have so much potential in outplaying others. Like I said in the previous category, there is quite a bit of decision making needed on what to spend your energy on, which definitely makes the skill ceiling higher. You also can't really do damage while up in the air because of your dodge, so sometimes it can feel harder to counter pressure someone. I really like that you are playing a DPS build that can also support your teammates by dodging into them, taunting enemies, reducing incoming damage from everyone with your Dwarven Elite, things like that. The Vindicator dodge and Greatsword 5 got nerfed already, and I can just imagine how wild it must have been to heal like 6k just by dodging. Almost makes me sad that I didn't try it out right at launch. Let's move on to excitement. This was originally called Fun Factor, but fun is too much influenced by me winning or losing games, so I changed it to how much the build excites me. 3 out of 5 stars. I don't think Vindicator would be my first choice in trying to play one build for a whole season, but I still think I'd consider it if I was bored with whatever else I was playing. Just because of the fact that the skill ceiling feels quite high. excites me personally. Not to mention that jumping into the stratosphere and then coming back crashing down on your teammates just looks really cool. I guess playing with the damaging dodge will feel a lot more fun though. You'd be giving up a significant amount of sustain, so sadly I don't think it's worth it. Let me know how you would rate the Vindicator based on these 3 criteria in the comments below. So those are my personal ratings for the spec. And now it's time to see how the Vindicator stacks up against the Harbinger. If you are clicking on this video after it's been out for a while, you should see the next one pop up right now. And if you're one of the early birds, the Harbinger vid is releasing next Wednesday. So make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. That is all for today. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. And of course, I hope to see you in the next one.